Hey, everybody. I want to introduce you to Ric Seritella on the. If I point this way, it's this fella right here. See that? That's Rick. Yeah. And YouTube Nation, welcome. And he's pointing at me. And we've known each other. How long have we known each other now?
Well, the first draft I went to was in 2002. I'm pretty sure you were there. So, I mean, it's got to
Yeah.
be going on almost 2 decades.
Yeah, 2 decades. Holy man, that's amazing. Hey, so quick, because and out of respect for your time, reading your draft NFL draft Bible. How many editions of the Bible is this for you?
We did the hard copy edition from 2002 to 2010. And then, we kind of hit a spike in printing costs and everything went digital and online. So we did away with it just like a lot of people did. And it got to the point where the Pro Football Weeklies and the Mel Kiper Juniors and just about everybody stopped doing a book. And so last year we brought it back for the first time in, I don't know, almost a decade. And there was a niche market there. People really love this thing. As you know, Zen, it's, kind of like a yearbook. And
Yeah,
there's not enough of these things. We used to love the media guides so much, and now those are a thing of the past. So I think there's a thirst and a craving. We're actually the only book that I know of, and there's a couple magazines that are still lingering around, but they're produced in January, so the information you're getting in March and April is kind of outdated. So I think ours is a little bit unique and updated, and this has been a fantastic year for the Draft Bible, and hopefully we can get through 2020 with some football and some answers. And
there's the draft Bible.
it is.
There she blows in all her glory. And let's get right to it because I love this. I want to ask you some questions about what you've researched here. Tell us, there is, and I've got this in marked because I wanted to ask you about this particular rankings, and I am allowing that. Yeah, so this should pop up.
Boom.
Boom, and there's a table of contents. We scroll down a bit, and there it is. That should pop. Yeah, there it is. And then if we, I believe you can see that, but
Yep.
I think let me scroll through here. And make sure that it pops up, because if it doesn't pop up that way, and it should, wait a minute, let me go here, remove that from the screen, get a better one, because we had this one. This was what I'm looking for, folks, is he has a particular ranking that I want you all to see, and this should be. It's funny how things. Here we go. Page 3 of 20. There it is. That's what I'm talking about.
The mock.
Yeah. That's it. The mock.
A lot of moving and shaking.
A lot. Yeah. and I love this because you got it all out of the way. First of all, let's close up on here. Let's see if we can go over here and then close up a bit. Yeah, that's actually perfect, I believe. And then we can see you've got Joe Burrow going number 1, and then the Redskins taking Chase Young. And this is where it gets really interesting really fast for me. Well, actually, it's interesting in another way, but you've got Detroit taking Tua, and then the Giants taking the giant fast guy, Mekhi Becton. Tell me. And then the Dolphins settling for Justin Herbert. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's kind of how it lays out here. This is fast. And then you leave the Chargers with nothing. Real quick. What's happening where, first of all, help me with this. I believe that Justin Herbert is better than Joe Burrow. And the reason why I say that is I look at Joe Burrow as a system test tube guy who had a lucky year. I'm not saying he isn't good, okay? But when I think of Joe Burrow, I think of Joe Brady. When I think of Justin Herbert, I think of a steady player who's starting multiple years and plays in an offense the NFL's caught up to in terms of adopting. What's your thinking on this?
I don't I don't blame you for it. I think that they're very close. Quite honestly, the top part of this draft, outside of Chase Young, who I believe is the head and shoulders best player, 2, 3, 4, 5, they could come off the board in any which order. Now, I think that when you look at what Joe Burrow did in one season, it was pretty remarkable. Arguably the greatest single season in college football history. So, they installed the same offense that he ran in high school, but you have to wonder, like, where was all the production the first 4 years? Why couldn't he beat out Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State? Yes, I know the offense was different. 2 years ago at LSU, they were more run-orientated, but you have to be a little bit concerned, just from the 1 year of production. And Haskins, you saw as a 1 year starter, struggled. Mitchell Trubisky as a 1 year starter struggled. I know Burrow has 2 years of starting experience, but when you just talk about the 1 year wonder and going back to maybe Mark Sanchez is the most successful 1 year wonder of them all. It's concerning if you go back to the old Bill Parcells philosophy and all the check marks that he looked for, the criteria of what he looked for in a starting quarterback. Joe Burrow probably doesn't check off many of those boxes. With that being said, you're betting on the upside. You're betting that he continues to trend upwards, and you also have to say that, hey, the offense that he ran this past season is very similar to what Joe Brady's bringing to the Panthers and what you're seeing around the league. So I think his skill set can translate well, but if you told me 5 years from now Justin Herbert was the better quarterback, I would not be surprised. 5 years ago, Zen, we were arguing about who was better, Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota, and they're both going to be on a different team this year in 2020. So everything's possible.
Yeah. Hey, so now Chase Young, help me with Chase Young, because at the combine, there was an army of media around this guy.
Yeah.
I treated him like he was a quarterback rock star. Should he be number one, or is it that the Redskins are going to come away with a steal? I mean, how is this going to play out with Young, you think?
Well, I think, the issue is when you look at the playoff teams around the league year after year consistently, the common denominator is a strong quarterback play. And, without a good quarterback, you're not going to be very competitive in this league. So when you do have a chance to pick number one overall, and you have a chance to take who you think is the top franchise quarterback that year, those opportunities don't come around too long. The last time, I think, for the Bengals, it was Carson Palmer back in 2003, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
So, when you get that opportunity to get a franchise quarterback, I think it's the cornerstone of your organization. So you have to pull the trigger on a quarterback. With Chase Young, I think it's just because the Bengals do need that quarterback. So, Washington should be doing cartwheels up to the podium. And I know they're not taking a quarterback, which leads me to believe that Chase Young will be the guy. And I think this young man has more upside and potential than either of the Bosa twins. I thought the Bosas were a little more polished coming out, but I think Chase Young has the potential, the dangerous P word, the potential to be better.
Now we get to 3, and you have Lee Steinberg's going to love you.
Just spoke to him today, actually.
you saw him today?
I spoke to him today, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get Tua on the show, but he's a busy man these days.
Yeah, I can't seem to get either he or Lee. It's like I used to not have a problem, but that's another story. We had to, we had to work I got to work a tandem pincher move. But anyway, that's another story. You hear that, Lee? We're to pincher move you. Anyway, Tua to the Detroit Lions.
So we were doing this, probably putting the finishing touches in early to mid-March, I'd say right around there. They were also talking about how Matt Stafford could be on the trade block, but they have since locked him up long term. And there's a good chance that Tua does come off the board at 3. It might not be to the Lions, but it might be the Dolphins trying to move up. It might be the Chargers trying to move up. The Raiders have the draft equity to move up.
Do you think they will, though? And if they do, what do they do? What will the Raiders do with that equity if they move up?
Well, I think, they've been in the hunt for a quarterback. They flirted with Tom Brady. I know they were hot to trot on Kyler Murray. They couldn't quite capture him. They have 2 picks, I think 12 and 19. I would think they would try to package those and move up. I'm not sure that's enough to move up to number 3. Maybe it's enough to move up to number 5 and jump ahead of the Chargers. But they would really have to love to. 2 is the ultimate wild card because you heard about the teams just finding out at the combine about the second wrist surgery that they not heard about. So that's on top of the ankles, on top of the hip. And so, like, it would not surprise me if Tua went 3. It would not surprise me if Tua went 23.
Wow. So you think he's all over the board then?
I think if anybody has a chance to do that Aaron Rodgers, Brady Quinn slip and slide in the green room,
yeah,
and I guess it'll be the virtuoso room this year, it would be Tua. I don't know. Are they going to keep flashing Tua in his home? Like, hey, Tua hasn't been picked yet. What's he doing now on the
So I got to ask you, because I got you a little. I know you have a 6:30 coming up, so we're back. But I'm going to milk this with respect to the Raiders, since we're talking about the equity that the Las Vegas Raiders have. Yeah, I did see that, by the way. What is it possible that they, as part of that package, trade Derek Carr?
I don't know what's his salary like, and how many teams believe in Derek Carr to take on that salary.
That's a good question. I don't know.
And with that being said, it's got to be 20-something million, right?
Yeah.
With that being said, why can't I get Cam Newton or Jameis Winston at a better price, or just not the same price, and be a better? I think Winston and Newton are both better.
I agree. Yeah.
I just don't think there's a big market out there for Carr. I really don't. Although, I don't see them taking Jordan Love, where I see Love being linked to the Raiders a lot.
That was it. Mel Kiper that did that. But he said, I was on the conference call yesterday with him. Do you know what he said? It was just a guess. In other words, he had no.
Right.
It was just something where he said he didn't actually have a solid rationale for it, other than, well, it seems like a good fit.
They need a quarterback. Love's the next logical choice. So
it was like he was just pulling it out of his, if I may. Okay. So that's, in no disrespect to him, but that's what I heard.
Now, if they stand pat, you're hearing now, I think the Jets are at 11, Raiders are at 12. I think the Jets go offensive tackle. They could go wide receiver, but the Raiders are really like where you see the first wide receiver off the board, which could be CeeDee Lamb, could be Jerry Jeudy, could be Henry Ruggs. But you're hearing that the Eagles now are trying to trade up for CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was the Eagles. But then another was fan cited, I believe, said something about the. I'm putting up the draft order right now to show, but they said something about the Jets having some interest in him as well. I mean,
and that could be the Jets maybe driving up the price of that 11 pick to get in front of the Raiders at 12, where that first receiver is expected to come off the board. I think that's where the Eagles would have to jump to, is with the Jets at 11. And if the Jets can trade down, still get a tackle in the back end of the first round, pick up an additional pick, the Jets have a lot of holes to fill, as you know. So that could be something that makes sense.
Here's the selection list right now. We've got, as you can see here, and we go back to and then we'll go back to side by side for you. But out of this, what do you think of all of this? In closing out, respect your time, we'll have you back, of course. But what's going to be the sleeper surprise in the first round?
It seems to change every day. I'm hearing Ezra Cleveland from Boise State is a guy gaining steam. He could now be a mid-first round guy. I think it's going to be surprising who's not included in the first round, which is Grant Delpit. This guy's stock is slid all the way out of the first round, it sounds like. And then, you'll see my rankings too. We've kind of changed them a little bit since the book has come out the last month or so, and gathered our sources of information. And, I would think that Jalen Hurts is a guy that could sneak into the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if he slides up there. He's a hot name.
You think the Raiders would take a sniff at him?
I want to rule it out.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you think they've got Mariota, but why don't the Raiders make a play? I know this. Why don't they make a play for Jameis Winston? I mean, my thought is maybe Mayock just doesn't like him.
I thought it would be a good fit, and it's funny because back to the Winston Mariota. How funny would it be if they winded up on the same team?
Yeah.
But to me, I think it's an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if anybody can really coach up Winston, I mean, Arians would have been a great guy to do that. But Gruden is pretty good too.
Yeah. My only issue with Bruce Arians' offense, after having spent a lot of my eyes watching the All-22, is that they don't work on footwork and timing. Receivers, they need another year to sink. Carson Palmer, he had 22 interceptions his first year in that system, came back the previous next year and had just 12. So, and Carson himself said he needs another year. So he's not. So I don't see how Tom Brady is supposed to be expected to walk in there and quite literally save the offense from itself. I can't see Brady having a winning season down there. What do you think?
Well, I think it took 2 years for Peyton Manning with the Broncos to win the Super Bowl, right? And I think it will be that year of adjustment just because Arians' offense is a little bit complex. It's not something you're just going to pick up and jump right in, and especially without any OTAs or off-season workouts. There's only so much work you can get in virtuoso style. I mean, you've got to get the reps. To your point, you've got to get that rhythm down with your receivers and work on that timing. And it was pretty cool. The Manning's Places. I don't know if you saw that. Tom Brady was a guest on one of the shows, and Tom was talking about how jealous he was of. They were in a game, and he had hit Peyton had hit Marvin Harrison on this hook. This little curl route, and the ball was there. Harrison turned around before he could even get out of his break. The ball was there, beautifully placed. It was like it was perfect execution. He said, "Man." He went up to Manning after the game and said, "How do you guys do that?" He just said, "Reps, reps, reps every day after practice." And he took it back, and they talked about a play like 2 years later. Fast forward, they used the same play to beat the Colts in the playoffs. For that one.
But that's something. I know 629. We'll have you back, but I just want to say that's something that I think is going to be hard for Tampa Bay as an organization to replicate. Is the Patriots go out and they do a lot of research, and so does Saban at the Crimson Tide. I say that because they've been linked in terms of having the extra edge, but they basically get it by asking everybody how they did something, which I quite admire.
And you got to remember too, these two guys were on the same coaching staff,
right?
Coughlin, I went on Bill Parcells. What a crew! Romeo Cornell, and what a collection of talent they have.
We got to have you back, man. I'm sorry I missed you at the combine. I was trying to get you.
This has been a crazy year in more ways than one.
You can say that again.
Yeah, I know. This was an abbreviated version. We definitely got to do a part 2 of this. And
I'll hit you back afterwards to find out what your schedule is for the next 3 or 4 days, or tomorrow, So,
good.
All right, man. I'll see you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you too, man.
Yeah, man.
Best to the kid too and the wife. You got it.
Yeah, we talk about you all the time.
Oh, hey, I think about you guys all the time. These are my good friends, folks. So,
absolutely. We'll chat soon, my friend.
Got it, man. See ya. All right. We'll be back, folks. And in 30 minutes from now or less, we're going to take a subject shift. My old boss, former Oakland Chief Administrative Officer, then Washington Chief Administrative Officer Robert Bobb is going to come on. We're going to talk about running cities in an age of COVID-19. Should be very interesting. 29 minutes from now, 4 o'clock. Excuse me, 4 o'clock. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock. All right. Joe Will says, Jay had some questions. He says, didn't Mel Kiper say that Blaine Gabbert was better than Cam Newton? Yeah, he did. There was a big race issue, okay, around that. There are people who didn't like a supposed crime incident involving shoplifting, I think, that they alleged that Cam was involved in, that he wasn't involved in, and there were some actions that Auburn allegedly took that had nothing to do with him directly. And so because of that, and I think just Cam's affect, which is more like, oh man, and nothing, it's all good, okay. And if you're not of the right culture, white male reporters don't really get that even to this day. That's less so true today than 2011 when Cam was coming out. But when Cam was coming out in 2011, it was really true. And fortunately, the Carolina Panthers saw through that racism, because had they not, I think Cam would have fallen to 20. But he didn't. He was taken number 1. Blaine Gabbert bought the idea. He's a kid, okay, at the time. He bought the idea that he was better than Cam Newton, even though he played in a Senior Bowl, did Blaine Gabbert, and was beaten out by performance by a person that everyone started talking about, whose name was Colin Kaepernick. Okay? Colin Kaepernick. So fast forward to today, and Blaine Gabbert has become the quintessential journey person quarterback, or I say journeyman because we don't have a female quarterback yet. It's coming, or she's coming. But Blaine Gabbert is just that. Having said that, it's criminal to think that you have the two most talented quarterbacks in the league not named Lamar Jackson or Tom Brady, okay, looking for a job. And specifically, that's Jameis Winston and Cam Newton. And I ask you, would that be the case if they were white? The answer I give you is no. All right. And what's so awful about that tableau is we have a culture where now interracial relationships are standard, expressed in pop culture. We're well mixed. So now it doesn't matter whether the person is white, black, Asian, or Hispanic. They see through that kind of racism and they'll call it out. And so the league has to stop that. It's like they're trying to protect a certain position for the white male quarterback rather than just saying, you know what? These guys are really good. Put them in. And I'm talking about not the league front office, but I'm talking about the owners and the head coaches. So that problem has to go away because it could cost the NFL a lot of money. And I mean just simply merchandise sales, popularity, at a time when people don't have a lot of money to spend. And all it takes is someone striking the right combination of money and business savvy and entrepreneurship to establish a league that could compete with the NFL and take advantage of that, its Achilles heel, which is race, and capitalize on it and move forward. I'm not saying it's going to be done, but the time where that could happen is better now than it has ever been. So the NFL really needs to get its act together in that department. And I say that lovingly. All right, folks, I've got to go and get ready for Robert Bob. I hope you'll join in because Robert Bob also was instrumental in bringing the Washington, you know them as Washington Nationals, I know them as Montreal Expos, from Montreal to Washington, and he built National Stadium. All right. Jay Will says, no, it's ridiculous that both of them are free agents, talking about Winston and Newton. And Phillip Rivers and Trubisky are still starters. Rivers wasn't even better than Jacoby Brissett last year, shaking my head. And I'll end on that note. Okay, folks, See you at 7 o'clock. Thanks again.